And we continue at 1:06 in the afternoon on the John Phillips Show. Mr. Randy Wang's in New Mexico.
In an interview with Telemundo yesterday, Karen Bass announced that she is running for re-election.
You're running for re-election next year. Do you think you're going to win?
You know what? I mean, it's almost a year away. So obviously, I plan to win. Obviously, I'm going to work very hard.
God help us all.
Has anyone even announced yet that they're running against her?
No. But you want to hear something depressing?
What's
if
that?
she actually loses for re-election, the type of candidate that's most likely to beat her is a socialist in the mold of that nut in New York.
So it's Mejia.
Yep.
800. All right, I'm canceling my return ticket.
800-222-5222 is the telephone number. 1-800-222-5222. Against my better judgment, I'm going to start with this phone call. Henry in Los Angeles. Henry, hello.
Hey, John and Randy. Thanks for taking my call. You must have got a heads up on this one, but a couple of things. You had a lady that called yesterday. It was very interesting. Had a business down there that was just, she was fit to be tied. It was obvious about the, what was going on the sidewalk and the police telling her they couldn't do anything about it. Well, I was talking to a restaurateur down there a couple of years ago, and he has a restaurant with a lunch crowd, and one day a couple of homeless people decided to drop on the ground right in front of his restaurant at lunchtime and have sex in front of his customers. So the next day he went out and put out potted plants in front of his window. And the day after that, he received a $500 fine from the city of Los Angeles for blocking the sidewalk. So I thought that was a little interesting compared to the lady that called yesterday. Also, I'd like to say that, MacArthur Park is a beautiful park. You don't believe me? Just ask Gavin Newsom to invite Xi Jinping to come visit. I'll guarantee you that place would be spotless.
I think you're probably right. Thank you for the call, sir. Well, that's a new one, Randy. Homeless people having sex right in front of a restaurant at lunchtime.
Something tells me that's not a new one.
I think I'd rather see him take an injection of meth. All right. So we told you about the looting that's going on right now in Altadena that is a complicating factor for those who are trying to rebuild their homes that were destroyed by the fire. Well, it's not just the looters that are causing problems. In fact, there is the finger of blame pointed at someone other than the looters who are now regarded as being the chief problem causers.
And, John, that would be the insurance companies.
You don't say.
For more, here is NBC4 in Los Angeles.
The images of that day 6 months ago are difficult to wipe clean. The devastation of the Eaton fire as it swept through the community of Altadena.
Thousands of homes, businesses, and churches leveled. Nothing but ash remaining there. 18 people lost their lives. And while the community pushes forward to rebuild, some of the toughest times remain ahead.
NBC4's Karma Dickinson live in Altadena with some of the challenges survivors here are now facing. Karma.
Yes, hundreds were actually gathering here today in Altadena, many of them stopping at the map just over my shoulder. What's notable about that map, every dot in red represents a home that was destroyed by the Eaton fire. So that gives you a sense of just how widespread that impact was, that footprint right here in this community. So hundreds were out for this event. We're showing you some video of it now. And really, they tell us that
this was outside of Gavin Newsom's big fancy presser about how successful the cleanup has been. All the Altadena residents holding up signs saying, hey, State Farm screwed us over.
But Gavin doesn't want their message to step on his message, so let's all ignore them.
you might be surprised to hear that they say.
I have to remember, later on, we'll play the sound of Gavin Newsom when he gets asked about insurance and how many times he says, I'm not passing the buck.
But talk to Ricardo Lara.
You might be surprised to hear that they say that their biggest barrier to coming home has been their battles with insurance companies. So today's...
Not surprised at all by that.
Well, we know what's going on. if your home didn't burn down in the fire, but the smoke damage is preventing you from being able to move back, they're saying, here's $900. Go buy all the Lysol Costco has. And when you're dealing with smoke damage, it's not just like you have a smoker who was staying in your house for a couple of months and it smells like smoke and you can put some Lysol in there and get it all cleaned up. When you have smoke damage, it melts things. The structure may still be there, but it looks like something out of a Tim Burton movie. You can't live in something like that.
Event was as much about marking 6 months as it was about demanding accountability from those providers. The event organizers displayed posters they say reflect the mishandling of their insurance claims. And while thousands lost all or part of their homes to the fire, even some people whose homes didn't burn have still been displaced for the last 6 months. Here's one woman's story.
This is what it's come to for Wendy Davis.
Hi, Karma. I'm Wendy.
She is so fed up after the last 6 months that she was waiting for our NBC4 crew outside of her home with a waiver.
So, first thing, a little housekeeping.
She wanted to make abundantly clear she was waiving her privacy rights.
She wants to make sure that when the news asks State Farm about her policy, they can't say, well, we don't want to violate her privacy.
Oh, no. She's ready to talk.
I waived my rights, and they could talk to you about my specific claim.
Removing any barrier for us to get answers from State Farm Insurance.
And so it sounds like you want to make very clear that the insurance company
Can answer your questions about my claim.
Why is that?
I feel like they still won't.
Well, of course, they hate all of the bad publicity they're getting from these fires, but they're doing what they think they need to do. And since the state regulator isn't forcing them to abide by the contract that they agreed to, why not?
Absolutely.
Because I think they hide behind privacy and don't give any details.
She would know. Wendy is a retired attorney who specializes in contracts, trained to haggle over fine print.
Yeah, this is not someone State Farm wants to mess with, but they are anyway.
No.
But she says the back and forth with State Farm Insurance since January 7th has worn her down.
It's like a daily trauma.
A first glance at Wendy's home, and it's hard to see what's gone so wrong. Because, well, she still has her entire home.
So what's the problem?
The smoke damage.
But 6 months after the Eaton fire came within blocks of her, Wendy says it's still not safe to live in parts of her house.
That bedroom down there had asbestos in the soot and ash.
And by the way, State Farm is still doing this after the court ruled that all those Fair Plan policies that were doing this, those policies are illegal because they're below the minimum standard for insurance. You have to cover smoke damage.
Well, what are you supposed to do if you have people who come to your house and say, okay, there are dangerous chemicals due to the smoke damage all over the place, and it's going to cost you hundreds of thousands of dollars to fix it. And State Farm says, no, it's fine. Here's some Lysol, spray it, and move back in. Because let's just say you take State Farm's advice and you get cancer and die, which is, I think, what would happen if you lived in a home that had dangerous chemicals there. Or maybe it wouldn't be cancer, maybe it would be something else. That's a massive lawsuit against State Farm. Massive. If they say it's safe, and the other people say it's not, the other experts say, no, it's not safe, and they force you in there because they think it will help them financially, it's not as if they're not going to be paying out on that. It's just they're going to create more human misery, and they kick the can down the road.
Several rooms of the homes continue to test positive for asbestos. Wendy showed us the rooms that have been cleared so far. She said from the outset, she had a fight on her hands from State Farm, who initially tried to deny her claim.
Now, when attorneys see this story, especially the ones that advertise on daytime TV about mesothelioma and asbestos that used to advertise on Jerry Springer, how many of them are calling her immediately?
Oh, I'm sure her voicemail box is full.
Despite the asbestos testing results she showed us.
You know, I don't think the average person knows the names of a lot of cancers. I guarantee you 2 out of every 3 people knows what mesothelioma is because they used to watch daytime TV.
Oh, 100%. And let me tell you, I've never met this woman once before in my life. I bet you she's received a call from 99% of the people whose faces are on the side of a bus.
despite the asbestos testing results she showed us.
So anything over 10 seems to be very concerning to me, and we're at 16.
What's followed, she says, has been months of stalling and stonewalling.
I had to beg to get somebody to even answer the phone for the first month. I had 5 adjusters in a month.
Yeah, that is a tactic.
Yeah. They are trying to make it as painful as possible so you eventually go away. And that's usually what happens.
It's left Wendy and her husband with maxed out credit cards and still without a stable roof over their heads, going from friends and family's homes to short-term rentals and hotels.
We've moved, I lose track, but I think it's 14, 15 times.
When we asked about Wendy's claim, State Farm sent a statement saying, in part, we have been actively working with our customer to provide them with claim payments in alignment with all the benefits they're entitled to under.
No, you have not.
No. Here is what you got to do. And I'll put it this way. If it were me, because I'm not going to tell you what to do. You've already been through enough if you're a fire victim. If it were me, life is short. Life is very, very, very short in the grand scheme of things. And homes, while you are attached to them, particularly if they're a family home, and a lot of these people inherited these homes from their parents or grandparents, and there's a lot of family history there. There's a lot of good memories there. I'm sure your church is there, your schools are there, your grocery stores, your friends, your family. I understand all that. Bottom line, a home is just property. It's something that can be replaced. You cannot be replaced. People, once you're dead, you're gone. You're not coming back. And you only have so much time here. And if you spend your healthy years fighting with insurance companies and fighting with city regulators and fighting with looters and fighting with all of these people who are all out to get you, you will lose your mind. And you can go ahead and you can get a condo or get a house in some other part of town. And I know right now it's probably hard to think about it this way, but you can find happiness someplace else. And based on everything that I have seen, regardless of what the politicians are saying, the process of rebuilding in Altadena or in Pacific Palisades is going to be the mother of all nightmares and has been the mother of all nightmares. I would move on. I really would. And I know a lot of people don't want to hear that, in part because we're letting the other side win. You know they want you out. You know they want to increase the density. You know they want to get rid of the single-family homes. You know that they don't want that neighborhood to look like it looked before, and you don't want that to happen. But I'm here to tell you that if you fight them, it's going to take every ounce of energy you have to give.
To under their policy.
I just want to live here, even if we have rudimentary stuff. I just want to be home.
She said she was finally able to track down a State Farm executive, which she believes led to her claim being handled with more urgency. But the asbestos cleanup itself is proving stubborn. Wendy hopes the most recent round of abatement will be enough to get her back into her home.
It will probably be 3 weeks, probably at the minimum, because once they clean, we'll test again, and the tests take about 10 days.
In the meantime, she says she's still negotiating with State Farm to cover her hotel stays. What she wants.
She's out of pocket for all of this.
How can they deny a hotel stay when your home is filled with asbestos due to a fire?
What she wants from the company, she says, is simple.
Just take care of us like you say you will when we buy your policy.
And State Farm's statement about Wendy's claim went on to say, we're committed to consistently providing every customer.
We don't need to hear their statement because it's full of crap. We're done.
Here's the truth. The truth is you have insurance to satisfy your bank because you have a mortgage. If something happens to you, you're on your own. They are going to try to find every loophole in the contract to avoid paying you what you're owed. And no one in the state of California is going to force them to abide by the contract. They say they're consumer friendly. They say they're looking out for you. They're not. They're basically employees of the insurance industry. And in a one-party state, you can get away with that. because you don't have to worry about losing your office. If you'd like to email the show, you can do so at johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. That's johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. And Randy, now that we're approaching the halfway point of today's show, if you want to continue listening to us after we sign off at 3, that's easy to do.
Absolutely.
All you got to do is search for The John Phillips Show wherever you get your podcasts, whether it's the Apple Podcast app, iHeart, Spotify. Search for The John Phillips Show. Hit subscribe. You can download all the episodes.
I'm very kind of sketchy.
You can do a Google on the YouTube, get one of our apps, share these shows with your friends and family. If people don't know why the insurance market is a mess in the state of California, share them some of the episodes of this show and play them some of the sound of Ricardo Lara.
I may be criticized and dragged through the mud for it, and get my wig snatched, as the gay guys say.
And Randy, we're now on the air in Fresno.
Every single Saturday from 2 to 3 p.m., you can hear the Fix California Hour with John Phillips and Randy Wang on 580 KMJ in Fresno, 105.9 FM. Stream it on kmjnow.com.
In the meantime, what do you say we make a couple of listeners very happy?
Let's do that right now. 790 KABC welcomes X and Los Lobos at the Pacific Amphitheater at the OC Fair on August 3rd. It's all part of the Toyota Summer Concert Series. Tickets on sale now at pacamp.com. But right now, caller number 9 at 1-888-795-2222 gets a pair of tickets to the show. And all concert tickets include admission to the OC Fair. Tickets furnished by the Pacific Amphitheater. Good luck dialing.
Programming note, we had a little bit of a technical glitch the first half hour of the program, and the monologue and first portion of the show, which was about the city of Oakland, never aired in the Bay Area. So what we're going to do to make up for that is we're going to replay it at 2:35. So if you're in the Bay Area, you missed the first half hour, don't worry about it. You're not going to not hear what was put on the radio. You're just going to hear it at 2:35, so we apologize for those technical glitches, and we're going to try to make it good at 2:35. Also, coming up later on in the program, Eddie Scarry is going to join us. He is, of course, a writer over at The Federalist, and he's going to weigh in on everything going on in Washington, D.C. and beyond. He's written quite a bit about immigration over the years. So he has a lot to say about what happened in MacArthur Park earlier this week. And U.S. Attorney Bill Asaley did an interview on Fox News this morning where he said it doesn't matter what the mayor of Los Angeles has to say. It doesn't matter how the state of California is posturing against the federal government. They have a job to do. They have laws to enforce, and they aren't backing down. We'll have more on that with Eddie Scarry when he joins us later on in the program. But the Fix California Hour continues in moments. 800-222-5222 is the telephone number. 1-800-222-5222. Right now it's time to open up the California Crime Blotter.
If the cashier is dummy.
Questions?
And Randy, this involves more harassment of ICE.
You know, this was actually happening at the exact same time where Karen Bass didn't want to even answer a question about what happened to the ICE agents in Texas and then claimed that there were no riots. While she was saying that, there was an incident in Van Nuys where 4 people ended up getting arrested for trying to plant improvised spike strips on ICE vans.
That has to be a federal crime.
It is. That is a felony vandalism, and since it's against a federal officer, that is a federal felony.
Good. So I hope the federal government goes after them and throws everything they can at them and puts a federal conviction on their record.
For more, here's NBC4 in Los Angeles.
Meantime, the latest immigration enforcement operation at a local Home Depot is coming with some added problems. Border Patrol agents say the tires on their vehicles were spiked by people trying to interfere with their arrests. NBC4's Tracy Leong has more on this incident and the community pushback tonight.
I'm going to guess it's not pushback against the people that try to disable vehicles.
Oh, no, of course not. When these people get tried and they're going to have this on their record forever, they're going to play the part of the victim. And they're going to say that they were only trying to express their political beliefs and they had no clue that it would be a federal crime and it wouldn't go before the local DA. And now they're going to have to deal with this for the rest of their life.
Video shared with NBC4 appears to show an immigration enforcement operation in the Van Nuys Home Depot parking lot Tuesday morning.
In the course of that raid, there were staff at the worker center that is on that location that were attempting to monitor and observe what these officers were doing, filming. During that process, they were arrested.
The National Day Labor Organizing Network, Endalon, and Union del Barrio held a press conference outside the federal detention center in downtown L.A. where they...
By the way, Union del Barrio is one of the organizations that Ulysses gave a whole bunch of money to clean up MacArthur Park.
Oh, yes. Your tax dollars are paying for a lot of this.
Where they believe those arrested are being held, demanding they be released. According to Endalon, the staff from the Workers' Center at Home Depot, who were there to support day laborers, were arrested for trying to protect the workers. The U.S. Border Patrol releasing this photo of those detained. 43-year-old Genaro Ernesto Ayala, 28-year-old Jude Jasmine Janine Allard, 54-year-old Sado Harnica, and 30-year-old Daniel Montenegro, saying they were arrested for interfering with federal agents conducting immigration enforcement operations. They're facing felony charges for placing homemade tire spikes to disable law enforcement vehicles.
They took like a piece of plastic pipe and put two giant nails through it and then just stabbed it in the tires.
And here's something to think about. If you commit a state crime, you go to jail in California. You go to jail at either a county facility or a state facility, and those are overcrowded and they let you out way early. If you commit a federal crime, you go to federal prison. And in federal prison, if you're sentenced to something, that's basically what you serve. The prisons are nicer and they're safer and they're better kept than the California prisons, but you will actually be there for however long the judge says you're supposed to be there.
The U.S. Border Patrol went on to say anyone who interferes with our lawful mission will be arrested. The case is now being reviewed by the U.S. Attorney's Office.
Which is Bill Asaley.
And he's going to throw the book at you.
The people united will never be divided.
Cool rhyme.
Maybe he could be the next mayor of L.A.
Endalon says they were denied access when they tried to visit them at the detention center and will continue fighting for their release as well as the day laborers who've been detained in recent weeks.
Wait, they want the release of the vandals too?
Oh, yes. Because if you go back to the terminology that was used, they were just trying to protect the migrants. It wasn't that they were trying to damage federal property or stand in the way of a federal investigation. They were just trying to defend the migrants.
Our message is to stop running over the rights of our neighbors and ourselves and to understand that we're going to respond every single time you violate these rights, and it doesn't end today.
Boy, nobody wants to lower the temperature in the room. These people are ready to go to war with federal law enforcement.
And the most infuriating part about this, again, is that we're paying for many of these organizations. We're paying at the local level for local groups to try to stop the federal government from enforcing federal law. Wrap your head around that.
Or tomorrow, this is an ongoing battle to assert these constitutional rights, and it's our civic duty.
So there you go. That's the latest out of Van Nuys.
And right now, it's going to be a wake-up call for these people because we're coming out of 4 years of George Gascon. We have Rob Bonta as our attorney general. And people are just used to breaking the law right and left. I mean, look at the crime blotter stories that we do, where copper wire is stolen and the local electeds defend them. Let's not criminalize our communities. Let's go ahead and make laws saying that you can't even ask a prospective employee if they've been convicted of a felony because that would discriminate against our community. Well, they're going to go from the super lenient attitude of George Gascon, L.A. County, City of Los Angeles, and State of California, and they're going to meet the federal government. And that's a whole different ballgame. There's no George Gascon that's going to save you there. There's no Gavin Newsom. There's no Gavin Newsom appointed judge or appointed parole board. You're not going to get that with the feds. The feds do not fool around. If you've ever talked to anyone who's been a former federal prosecutor before, you know that that is an organization that wins like 90+% of all of their cases because they get their ducks in a row and they don't even take a case to court unless they're completely convinced they're going to win. And they have the unlimited resources of the federal government. So you get upset at ICE and you think, okay, I'm going to puncture their tires so they can't do what they're going to do because I don't agree with it. And that's just me exercising my opinion. Go back to what happened in downtown LA and what Karen Bass said recently. There was no rioting down there. There was no violence. That's what Maxine Waters said. And basically what they're saying is whenever you get really angry, or at least those on the left get really angry and exercise their opinion or exercise their First Amendment right by expressing their opinions, there's just a certain amount of violence and destruction of property that's baked into the cake. And we understand that and we're willing to accept that. That's basically their attitude. Well, if you're really upset that ICE is arresting people or detaining people who are here illegally, and you express yourself by yelling and screaming and protesting, and occasionally you puncture some tires, well, that's just part of the deal. No, it's not. And by telling all of these people that that's just part of the deal, they're in for a real rude awakening when they find out it's not. You can get away with it here in the insane asylum, but when you're dealing with other people from outside of the state of California, they don't see the world the same way that George Gascon does, or Karen Bass, or Rob Bonta. And these people who punctured those tires, they're going to find out in short order. If you'd like to email the show, you can do so at johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. That's johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. And Randy, you're monitoring the mailbag.
John, we actually got an email from a fire victim in the Eaton Canyon area. He said, "Hello, fellas. It's not just State Farm trying to screw us over." I have to clean this email up a bit. "Our property got the quote, 'This property has been cleared of all toxic and harmful substances' sign off from the Army Corps of Engineers, the County of Los Angeles, and the EPA. However, after doing our own independent testing, the property was found to have very high levels of asbestos, lead, and arsenic. Between the insurance companies and our government, state and local, makes one want to go postal."
I'm telling you, when I look at what these poor people are going through, all I see are problems that just produce more problems, that just produce more problems, and no one is there to help you. Everyone is trying to take advantage of you. The people who claim that they're there to help you are not. They're adversarial. And it's just a battle that, I don't know. I would wave the white flag and move on. I don't have it in me. Maybe other people do. I certainly don't. All right. It's time to reopen the California Crime Blotter.
If the cashier is dummy.
Questions?
And Randy, this edition takes us to the OC.
There was a wildfire that caused mandatory evacuations that it turns out was started by a 13-year-old jackass teenager who was lighting off fireworks. By the way, how is it that they figure out the cause of this fire and arrest the person doing it like within the span of a day, and we're 6 months out and we still don't know what happened with the Palisades fire?
It's Orange County. If you commit a crime in Orange County, they will catch you. In L.A., we still don't know who melted the freeway.
For more, here's NBC4.
And we begin with that breaking news in Laguna Beach. Police arrest a 13-year-old boy in connection with a brush fire we covered right here on NBC4. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Michael Brownlee.
And I'm Colleen Williams. We've been following that and new details on that arrest. Officials now believe the fire was likely started by illegal fireworks, and there's new video apparently showing it happen.
NBC4's Camilla Rambaldi live on the scene with more on the investigation and the arrest. Camilla.
Hi, Michael. And
when it's a 13-year-old, do you throw the book at the 13-year-old or do you throw the book at their parents?
Well, I don't know what you do with this because the 13-year-old was acting like an idiot. But at this point, even 13-year-olds should be aware of what kind of fire risk exists in California.
Hi, Michael and Colleen. We're here by Morningside Drive in Rancho Laguna Road. This is the area where officials say the fire broke out yesterday at the end of the street here near this empty lot. You can see the scorched hillside. A number of fire crews remained on scene today. This area remains blocked off. And now new video on social media appears to show how this fire may have started. New video circulating online appears to show a teenager lighting a firework and then taking off. It appears to have been shot in the same...
Boy, that was so fun, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah. He made the news.
It appears to have been shot in the same area where Laguna Beach police say yesterday's brush fire started near Morningside Drive and Rancho Laguna Road.
This was a very scary and intense situation.
The fire broke out just after 2 in the afternoon. News Chopper 4 overhead yesterday showing the smoke and the flames going up the hillside near homes, leading to evacuations. Police say multiple witnesses reported seeing a teen in the area possibly involved in setting off fireworks.
We identified them as witnesses, and they helped us determine ultimately who was responsible.
Police say they arrested...
Yeah, they weren't going to silence themselves for that kid. That kid can go away.
They ratted their friend out.
Police say they arrested a 13-year-old boy in connection to the fire on suspicion of felony reckless burning of forest land. Police also say video officers obtained helped with the investigation. We asked police to verify if this is the video of the teen that was arrested. They were not able to confirm.
But it was.
They have to get real coy when they're dealing with a minor because of certain laws that exist. But if you're a 13-year-old and you live here, you're not visiting here from some other place and you're unfamiliar with how things work in California, you should know better. And I don't know what you do with this, if you charge the parents with something or you charge the kid with something or how you handle this. But you could kill a bunch of people. You could kill a bunch of wildlife. You could burn down a bunch of homes. You could destroy an entire community just so you can look at something, go boom.
Where does a 13-year-old even get the illegal fireworks?
Who knows?
The video was helpful in identification. We're not going to confirm or deny any of those videos that are out there on social media, but it was certainly something that was instrumental.
Police say the teen was released to his parents after being processed at the police department. Officials say yesterday's fire scorched about 4 acres. No homes were damaged.
Fireworks here in Laguna Beach are illegal, and this is the exact reason why they're illegal, right? Recreational fireworks cause havoc, and we saw it firsthand yesterday.
We see it every day. How many fires were sparked up in Oakland over the weekend just because of illegal fireworks, sometimes at street takeovers?
Well, and it's still unclear what started the fire in Pacific Palisades, but the latest rumor, unconfirmed rumor, is that it could be as a result of fireworks when a fire was started on New Year's and wasn't correctly and thoroughly put out.
And Laguna Beach police say they're still finalizing their investigation and will submit a report to the Orange County District Attorney's Office. That's the very latest from Laguna Beach. Camila Rambaldi, NBC 4 News.
So what happens at this point, it could either go straight to probation, which means Spitzer doesn't have anything that he can do with it because it is a juvenile, or it can go to his office and he can determine whether he throws that felony at the 13-year-old or the parents.
It's good that no one was injured in this fire. No one died, certainly, and no homes were burned down. So if you're going to go ahead and give the kid or the parents a pass because it's their lucky day that no one got hurt, then I guess you could do it with something like this. But what would you do if a 13-year-old started a fire like this and people died or people lost their homes or schools and churches burned down? I don't think you could give them a pass then. When you play with fire, sometimes you get burned. And sometimes it's the literal sense, and sometimes it's the figurative sense. So I'm just glad for all parties involved that there wasn't a loss of life here. But people just have to stop doing this because we live in an area that it deals with extreme fire risk. and you have one tiny itty-bitty fire that gets out of hand, and suddenly an entire region is threatened. All right. We have one more hour coming up on the John Phillips Show. Eddie Scary joins us next. Don't you go anywhere.